What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're here to talk about characters are going to be coming to global. So we can see right here, Sanji Pudding are going to be arriving, which is not really a surprise to anyone. With the Vivi, Rebecca, and Shirahoshi Mancherry batch, we did kind of assume that Sanji and Pudding were not going to be that far behind. And also we have information on a brand new Sugo Fest 6+ character. Also we have a Kizuna coming up. We have other limited banners going to be arriving. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about all of these units. So we don't actually have the data download for these characters yet, so we don't know what the banners are going to be like. So I'll make that in a separate video in the coming days once we actually get the data download. But I wanted to make this video preemptively because we're probably going to be getting this data download either in a couple of hours or it's probably going to be tomorrow sometime. So I'm going to be making this video talking about these units, give my thoughts and opinions on them. And I've already made a video previously. I'll leave a card at the top of the video as to like what's the next big banner to be saving for, because I know some people still ask that question. So if you guys have questions about that, check out that video. It should answer your questions. So let's go ahead and get into this video today. So Sanji and Pudding are obviously the big one here. So let's go straight to them. Now Sanji and Pudding, when they first came out, were pretty much considered to be one of the best units in the game. And they still are, honestly. They're actually quite powerful. So you've got Sanji, who's Fighter Cerebral. You've got Pudding, who is a Cerebral shooter, and then their Fighter Cerebral in their dual form. Sanji's quick, Pudding is a Dex unit, and this is the first Sugo Fest exclusive in the game that is a limited legend that you can only pull on certain banners. I guess you could technically count Roger and Odin as that. However, you can only pull Sanji and Pudding on Kizuna Sugo Fests moving forward. Now, they might change it for global, I don't think they will, but this character is debuting on a Kizuna Sugo Fest, and you can only pull them on Kizuna Sugo Fests moving forward. So they're very, very restricted, very limited characters. So let's talk about what they do. So I'm not going to talk about their single forms too much, but you can see, 4 times and 3.75, that's basically what happens. But they are going to boost Fighter and Cerebral by 5 times in their dual form, HP by 1.35, Recovery by 1.5, 10% damage reduction, and Strength X quicker matching for Fighter and Cerebral. If you just look at this alone, this is probably like one of the best captain effects in the game. Flat 5x with health and recovery boost is just insane. You get damage reduction on top of it and like matching slots. Like, there's really nothing bad about it. Of course, it's a dual unit, so you do have to use their switch effect, obviously, to switch between the two units, and you have to use their special to get their dual form. So you guys know my opinions on dual units. I'm not the biggest fan of them as captains, but they are still extremely solid units. Having a look at the Sailor ability, they resist 5 turns of special bind on themselves, which is good and gives stat boosts otherwise. Now, as for their switch effect, removes all despair, paralysis, and slot bind on themselves. So, the despair only works if they're the captain. If they're not the captain, this is an essentially useless switch effect. But still, removing paralysis and slot bind, I guess paralysis only on themselves is whatever, but slot bind on themselves completely is really nice. They change their own orb, including block, into a matching slot, and then recovers 25% of the damage that you took on the stage when you enter a new stage. So essentially, the way that this is very similar to like Legend Hawkins or V2 Katakuri, where after you take a certain amount of damage, as soon as you kill that stage and progress to a new stage, you recover back a certain percentage of your health. So again, as long as you've used your switch effect before you kill a stage, you'll always recover back 25% of the damage that you've taken. It's a very, very good switch effect because this can be used on a lot of other teams. I mean, if you just look at the waifu characters with Shirahoshi Mancherry, Vivi, Rebecca that are just dropped, all centered around healing, this character also can provide some really, really good healing for your teams. Now, as for their special, 12 turn cooldown with the expansion, they recover 15,000 flat HP. So, that can be a good and a bad thing, because the fact that it recovers 15,000 HP flat, I believe this ignores certain recovery mechanics that will reduce your recovery because it's a flat heal. Not 100% sure on that. May have to get some other opinions on that one, but still, 15k heal, it's okay. Removes all enemies' Rainbow Shield and Threshold damage reduction completely. So Threshold and Rainbow Shield completely removed. Very reminiscent of Vivi and Rebecca version 1, because they also boost the color affinity of Cerebral and Fighter characters by 2.25 for 2 turns, and then they fuse for Sanji Pudding for 3. So yeah, it's a very reminiscent special of the original Vivi and Rebecca character, as the original Vivi Rebecca gets rid of Blue and Rainbow Shield completely, whereas this character gets rid of Rainbow and Threshold completely. It's a very good special. Plus, you add color affinity on top of that. this unit's extremely powerful, man. Like, really, really good. And for Fighter and Cerebral, two amazing classes that have a lot of powerful units in the game. There's nothing really about this unit that you could consider bad. They also have the Hunger effect, they've got Pinch Healing and Recovery Bind, and then let's have a look what they do in Pirate Rumble. So they're level 5 passive. For the first 40 seconds, level 6 attack down to all enemies, wow. Level 2 CT down to all enemies, and level 2 defense down to all enemies. Damn, dude. Damn, this is such a good passive, like a really, really good passive. Obviously it doesn't buff yourself, but debuffing the enemies this significantly is pretty insane. And then their special ability on a 35 cooldown inflicts level 9 speed down to all enemies and 2.5 times attack to 3 enemies. Yeah, I like it. This unit's good and can be put on a Cerebral or a Fighter team. I guess Cerebral and Fighter aren't like too common in Pirate Rumble at the moment, but I guess if you're running a Rainbow style team, would work pretty well. So that is, that's Sanji Pudding, and they're definitely considered to be one of those better units in the game. As a captain, they're definitely usable. It's just a matter of whether you like actually using dual units or not. But there's a lot of other characters that are debuting alongside them. This Chiffon is going to be debuting in their Sugo Fest as a Kizuna Rare Recruit character. Captain effect is a Free Spirit and Cerebral Captain. The special is what we're looking at though. Bind, Despair, and Paralysis removed by 5 turns. 15 times recovery healed, and changes empty, block, bomb, recovery, tandem, G slots into matching, and if your captain is Cerebral or Free Spirit, increases color affinity buffs by 1 turn. So obviously, works very well with Sanji Pudding to give you the 3-turn color affinity instead. Actually reduces blindness by 5, which is a pretty good crewmate effect to have as well. And then also has a very good support, attaching to Capone, Pudding, and Lola. Once per adventure, when you use an orb changing or a randomization special, reduces paralysis by 2 and recovers 3000 HP. So that's okay. That's actually not too bad at all. Can work on like Legend Pudding, for example. Not this pudding, but the other Legend Pudding. So not too shabby at all. This will be debuting, as I said, alongside the Sanji and Pudding character. And then also this character right here, the Capone Beige and Pez character, is going to be arriving as the new Kizuna unit. He is a shooter-driven Dex unit, -1 cooldown. Dex characters get 3.5 attack. I guess for a free-to-play Dex captain, it's not terrible. Can't be blown away. 13-turn cooldown. Changes all slots, including block, and into badly matching slots. That's interesting. Locks slots for 1 turn. Makes the type that the captain has beneficial for all characters for 3 turns. Okay, that's interesting. So, whatever type orb the captain has. So I guess if the captain has like a size slot, you know, size slots are going to be counted as beneficial. Okay, so that's interesting. And then boost the attack of all characters by 2 times depending on the amount of excess healing done. So if you have under 10,000, it's a 1-turn boost. If you have between 10 and 20,000, it's a 2-turn boost. And if you have over 20,000 healed, it's a 2 times boost for 3 turns. That's pretty good. And it's a rainbow attack boost, by the way. So if you have some sort of way to get those matching slots, you know, making those badly matching slots count as beneficial or changing them back into another slot, this could actually work very, very well in your favor. Very, very interesting unit, of course. So that is that's the Capone unit, and now we've got 6+ Zoro. So this is V2 Zoro. So V2 Zoro obviously debuted with V2 Mihawk, and this is where we start getting into some 6+s that are a little bit more disappointing. I remember when this guy first got revealed, I think I even said in my video that I was just straight up disappointed, because one of the big problems with this character is his reliance on getting specifically Dex and Int slots to get your big boost. And unfortunately, they didn't really do anything to him to kind of improve that major issue of the unit. So his classes and colors don't change. His captain effect, which he does have an expanded captain effect, but his base captain effect is going to be a 3.25 boost to slashes, 1.5 health, so the health is fine. Dex and Int are beneficial to slashes, and if you have a Dex or Int slot, you get a 4.225 boost instead. And it's essentially the same here, except it's a 3.5 boost. You do get 10% damage reduction though, which is kind of nice. And if you have one of those slots, you do get a 4.55 boost instead. So this is, if you are running a slasher team, yeah, it is a pretty decent captain effect. Though if you have like Goldie Roger, for example, you'd probably want to be using him over this Zoro. I mean, I just don't think the Zoro is that great, because having to rely on Dex and Int slots is just like the worst thing ever. I hate it so much. He does make them beneficial as a sailor as well. He reduces his special bind on himself by 10, but his special is still pretty good though, you gotta admit. It's a good special. Lots of damage to all enemies. Recovery and tandem matching for 3 turns for your slashes. You get a 2.25 boost to your attack to your slasher units for 1 turn. And if you hit 3 perfects, you get the same boost in the following turn. If you expand him, he goes into 11-turn cooldown. Like, this is good, but one of the big problems, though, is that having to hit your perfects is actually one of the worst things. If they change this to be the clock debuff instead, or the clock buff, where, you know, after one turn you get the boost again, that would be so much better. Because you gotta remember, when you launch a special, you're doing 200 times his attack. That's a lot of damage. And depending on the enemy, like, it's going to be hard to hit your 3 perfects, because this is a pretty substantial boost. In a lot of instances where I've tried to use this character, I've literally, like, killed the character before I've been able to hit my perfects, which is kind of annoying, because sometimes you do want to carry a buff into the final stage that either reacts to an attack boost, or maybe there's a special limiter. Like, there could be a lot of situations why you'd want to use this special. So there's still a lot of problems with this unit that they didn't really fix with his super evolution. Is he better than his original form? Yes, entirely, in almost every sense, but they didn't really fix his issues, which is what I'm not a big fan of. Everything else is essentially the same. So, you know, like Zoro, he's going to be getting his 6+. You get his skulls through playing the upcoming Kizuna against Capone, so that's something to look forward to. And now that there's some other characters here, there's some like random offshoot characters. So first of all, we have this Frankie character, which is, so this is going back to some of those other characters we've had, like the Crying Robin, the East Blue Straw Hats. Essentially, it's showing artwork of the character for when they first join the crew. So we have Frankie here, you've got the Thousand Sunny in the background. This is right at the end of the Enies Lobby arc, of course, and he'll be debuting alongside this Brook character, which obviously is Thriller Bark, where Luffy asked him to join the crew as he's playing the piano right at the end of Thriller Bark. So these artworks and these limited time units are for when the characters first join the Straw Hat crew, and these two are going to be debuting together on the same banner. So Frankie is a quick free spirit powerhouse, and his special reduces attack down and paralysis by 5, reduces resilience by 3. If your captain is strength or quick, you get a 1.75 color affinity boost. It's okay, nothing too broken. Yeah, look, it's okay. It's okay. It's not terrible. It's fine. Let's have a look at Brook, though. Brook is a int / a striker. Interesting to see / a striker. Recovers 4343 HP, reduces recovery down by 5. If your captain is strength or int, you get a 2x ore boost for 1 turn, and if you activate the special when you've got 50% or more health remaining, you protect from defeat for 1 turn. This could potentially see some play in some very odd specific teams, but not a terrible effect. But like, I don't think it's really worth pulling for these units. It does depend on what banner they're going to be debuting on, but I just don't think they're like that amazing. But then you've got the Robin and the Chopper here. Now these characters are interesting because I think these are support units. Yeah, they've got 1 cost. So these characters are debuting on a new support banner. So we just previously had the one with Caesar Clown, Daifuku, Shutenmaru, and Gecko Moria. That one will be replaced with a new one where Robin and Chopper are going to be debuting. So we're only going to look at their support effects because that's the whole reason why you want these units. So Robin only attaches to units that are both quick and cerebral. So like the new Vivi Rebecca and the Shirahoshi Mancherry, they would count towards this. So it says once per adventure, when you use a bind or despair reducing special, reduces bind and despair by 2 turns, and then reduces damage taken by 70% for 1 turn, and you heal like 30% of your crew's max HP. So obviously works very well with either of the characters actually, because, you know, you got Vivi Rebecca who reduces bind, you've got Shirahoshi Mancherry who reduces despair, so it works on either of them. Pretty decent effect, though I don't know how useful this is actually going to be. 70% damage reduction and 30% heal. I mean, you do get an additional bind and despair removal, but like, Shirahoshi Mancherry and Vivi Rebecca already are pretty good at removing bind and despair. Don't really think this is like a character you actually need. It's kind of whatever, but at the same time, if you've got Vivi Rebecca, who only reduce bind, you can technically reduce despair with this as well, and vice versa, where you've got Shirahoshi Mancherry, which only reduces despair, but now you can reduce bind as well. So I guess that's the kind of use you could probably use it for, but outside of that, I don't know. I don't think this is going to be a support that you actually need. It's definitely nice to have, though. Let's have a look at Chopper, though. So Chopper, I think, is probably going to be very similar. He's a quick cerebral fighter, attaches to, yeah, again, quick cerebral units. When they use a special, recovers 3,000 health and boosts the color affinity of quick units and cerebral units by 1.5 for 1 turn. So this one is separated because there's the and. So you see with the support, has to be a quick unit that is also cerebral, but the color affinity from this support is for quick units, and then also for cerebral units, a 1.5 boost. This is a very good support. I like this a lot. Color affinity supports are always going to be useful, and especially because you can launch, you can get the color affinity whenever you want. It's like, it's not one of those ones where you have to be on the final stage. You can just launch your special of the unit whenever you want, and then you're going to get this. But the downside to it is it has to be specifically attached to a quick unit that is also cerebral. So that is kind of the trade-off there is like, yeah, this is a fantastic support, but it's kind of restrictive as to the units that you can attach to. So we can just quickly take the time here. If we just filter by quick units that are also cerebral, let's go ahead and zoom out real quick. Let's filter by attack and see what we can find. So we've obviously got Sanji Pudding also count. Yeah, that is actually true. You got Luffy Law. I guess that actually works as well. You got the Shanks crew, of course, Viva Rebecca, Onami. He's got this Trafalgar Law. Sugar. Oh, I totally forgot about Sugar as well. Interesting. Okay. The older Kazuna Sanji Pudding as well. This Caesar's okay. Shiroshimen Sherry again. Coliseum Jinbei. This Sengoku's great. Karasu's fantastic. There's actually a couple of good units here. The new rare recruit Neptune, Komurasaki, Valentine's Nami. Actually, like, not terrible. I mean, the new Hina. This Kizuna Nami is pretty good. Pedro's usable. Orobi's really good. I'm actually surprised. There's a lot more units than I thought. So, I mean, you may want to consider that, but then again, we don't know what the banner's going to be like, and there's obviously a lot of other banners coming out in the future that you should probably look out for. As I said, watch the video that I linked at the start. That's probably going to be where you want to be spending your gems, like Ace Akainu and stuff. That's probably the big hitters. But pretty interesting stuff moving forward. I'm definitely excited for a new Kizuna, but I'm not that excited for Sanji Pudding. I know definitely some other people out there are very, very excited for Sanji Pudding. Shout out to my man Flamevius, but that is that. That's the rundown of the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one today, and if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.